question recently that was a bit to the side of archaeology, but it still interrelates, especially if you're an archaeology professor or if you're giving a lecture or a presentation or this kind of thing. And the question was about, how do I manage my classroom, right? How do I get a bunch of people to focus on me and go with what I'm saying? And I've worked on this over the years. It's kind of like, it's getting a rap if you're like a comedian. It's very similar. I used to do improv comedy a little bit, and the vibe is so similar in terms of just kind of perfecting your rap, like your rapport with the audience. And I have to say, underneath all of this, the steel in the walls is honesty. And I know that sounds cliche. I know you're like, oh, come on, man. No, but it is. It's actually so important that in order to manage an audience, or to have an audience really pay attention, underneath it all, they have to know that you're being straight up with them, that you're delivering what you need to deliver in an honest fashion. Because honestly, they're focusing on you too much. They're gonna notice if you're being dishonest or disingenuous. You know, if you're saying something you don't really believe in, right? You've gotta play it from the heart. You really do. If you're forced to say something that you're maybe not in agreement with, make yourself in agreement with it. And I mean, there might be an angle on that theme that you might be happier with, you know? Take that angle. If there's some topic that you really need to discuss, where underneath it you're like, oh, I really hate this, right? Make sure it's honest. I'm telling you, everything else I say, the honesty portion is just vital. And so as I talk about classroom management, I do it in kind of a comedic fashion. Most likely, that won't be your thing. So I'm giving you my examples of what works for me. What you should do is just take these examples and work it into your honesty, if that makes sense. Because maybe you're not a comedian. Maybe you're not a funny kind of person. Maybe you're a very serious person. That's okay for classroom management, as long as you're honest. As long as you really are that serious person underneath it all, right? It gets very philosophical very fast. You just want to be more of yourself. That's honestly how classroom management works. And it's the same as if you're doing a comedy show or any of that. The audience, they're dying for you to be honest with them, to be on the level with them. If you're pissed at them, tell them. If you're happy with them, tell them. If there's something that's concerning you, tell them, right? And they'll be like, they might be pissed at you as well, but they'll be honest about it and they'll get over it. I would say that what I do in terms of like a class from beginning to end, I warm up the audience. Meaning that I don't come in and just like put my stuff down and go, okay, look, first thing on the test is going to be this. I come in and I just go, hey, anybody do anything fun last week? It's a common one from me. And then we just talk, and in my honesty, I really want to hear what the students have to say. I am curious about what they did over the weekend. And so we spend like 5 minutes, has nothing to do about archaeology. We just talk about, oh, hey, oh, no way, man, you went to Universal Studios? How was that? And I actually get cool knowledge for myself based on what my audience is sharing with me. So that warm-up of the audience, it's so important. It sounds like nothing. But it starts the ball rolling of, hey, this is going to be a give and take situation. This isn't just me blasting at you. This is like you say some stuff, then I say some stuff. Now I'm like running the show, right? But it's an interactive show. So I start with a warm up of an audience. So in classroom management, in terms of the audience, I've had people ask me about the equivalent of a heckler. What if you have a student who is doing something you don't want? What if they're just saying stuff you don't like? It's a heckling situation. What I found is you work on your rap with that over the time. For me, what works is to kind of nip it in the bud, to be bigger than them, like all of a sudden, and that works actually usually really well, because they'll be like, hey, what about? No, what about? You know, you top them instantaneously, and because there's this sheen of what a college professor is supposed to be like, right? If I go BAM! Right out of nowhere, I really get the audience on my side. Because actually, the audience is always on your side. Nobody wants a heckler. They don't like it. They're not there to hear heckling. They are here to hear you say what you're supposed to say. So in a student situation, the students, believe it or not, they're there to hear about, in this case, archaeology. They don't want to hear some fool. So, and they are dying for you to take care of it. So in a heckler situation, be bold. Knock that sucker. They deserve it. Right? They're using the situation against you because they want focus turned to them. Turn it back to you. Grab that focus. Whatever works for you. I find being real big, real fast works for me. But your mileage may vary. Go with what works for you. What else do I got here? Don't rush. Part of classroom management is in the telling of what you need to tell them. Don't go too fast. You know, you need to be in the moment. I talked about this when I talked about how to give a presentation. Like you be in the moment of discovery along with them as you tell the story. And your reaction, oh my God, that's so great, will bleed over into them because you're showing them how to react. I think this is awesome. Don't you? You know, and they'll go with you in your own positivity. Positivity is pretty nice to have too. What else do I want to say? Silence is your friend, meaning you can wait. Like if you ask a question out to a class or an audience. So, how many of you would say 7? Maybe 6? Right? You can take time. Even as I'm being filmed right now, I feel a bit of a pressure to get all my words in for you guys. But I can take a moment. I think I counted to 7 or something like that. That's like, it feels like an eternity. It's no big deal. Let silence be your friend. If you don't know what you're going to talk about next, take a moment. Walk over to your notes. You know, it's okay. Silence is cool. It actually it allows a pause, a natural relaxation. So I would work on it. If you're worried about classroom management, try it. Test yourself. Be like, I'm going to be silent here. See how it goes, right? You can go longer. Just float in the precious silence. You know? So silence is your friend. You use silence as part of your presentation because there's quiet parts, and that will also juxtapose against the louder parts, making them more important. What else would I say? We've done the silence thing. We've done the heckler thing. Make fewer points rather than more, fewer examples rather than more, because it's much more fun to drill down into the honesty of the example, into the honesty of the moment or the situation, rather than cram everything in. In my life as college professor, in making up lectures and stuff, it's actually a constant cut, right? I'm constantly figuring out what to cut, not what to add. It's like what to cut. How can I do the minimum number of examples, but really enjoy them and really be in the moment? Because you don't have time for too many examples. A big problem that I find people in the classroom trying to do is just get too much stuff across. And it destroys your classroom management because everyone's confused. So actually part of classroom management is making your class easy to understand in the first place. Because if your class like the flow chart is really obvious, we are going to do 3 things today. Boom, boom, boom. If that's really obvious, then the audience or the students will follow that, and they'll know where to go, and they won't be confused, right? They'll know, oh, okay, we're going to number 2 now. Put that up in the beginning. That's another thing about classroom management. You can put the list up in the beginning, write it on the board. We're going here, we're going here, we're going here. And that makes students feel more secure almost. The audience feel more secure in what's the show going to be. I find it very worthwhile to think of the classroom as an audience or as a show, right? It just really works for me. And you use whatever tricks work for you. It's funny, there's so much. I'm just thinking about all these moments in the classroom and kind of what I've done to kind of make things simmer down. Sometimes you'll have an audience member or a student who's too into it, asking 20 questions or this kind of thing. Interest and energy is a positive thing. So you don't want to shut that student down. But what I find is sometimes I can talk to them after and be like, hey, I noticed you asked me 15 questions today. Look, man, it's too much. I can't answer them all. But I really appreciate that you're into this stuff. And I'm wondering if just count to yourself, give her 3 or 4 questions. Please, answer 3 or 4 questions as we go through, but then don't do any more. Because what I'm trying to do is get the other people who aren't going to talk much to talk. And so you can be quiet and help me out. And you see, that gives the student a feeling of like being a part of it. And they are. That's honest. See how the honesty thing? Right? I honestly do appreciate their energy, but if they're too much, they're just covering it for others. I need their help in pulling the other students into the show, because I want this to be an inclusive show. So I do find that that a student who's asking way too many questions can be a cool ally because they want to be in it. So hey, invite them in, right? God, what else in classroom management to keep them, keep everyone sort of in? It's funny, it's all the same themes. It's like you want things to feel fresh and lively and live, and you're thinking of stuff off the top of your head. If you have a cool like little angle on something or something that just comes up, roll with it. Roll with it. This gets very philosophical, but it's like whatever you're teaching, the grander philosophy of things is sometimes super interesting. Roll with it for a few minutes. It's okay, right? And especially if you have fewer things to talk about in the first place, you have room for that. Allow room for this kind of thing, for a natural give and take. Because if you're in the moment when you do these kinds of things, the audience will be energized and focused on you, and you won't have any classroom management problems in the first place because they will all be hanging on you, and you'll feel it. You will have them in the palm of your hand, and it's a really nice feeling to have that. Don't turn away from them because you lose them. Keep focus. Always change focus, though. Classroom management is partially about changing where you're talking from, because that will re-energize the show, right? So make sure every few minutes move. Use that room. Use that space. We did this same thing when I talked about how to give a presentation. It's the same deal. Use that room. Make them change focus. It will re-energize what you're saying. And it's funny, as I think about this, all I'm saying, it's all going back to that honesty thing, and just sort of being in the moment. And so much of it is the presentation itself, where as long as that's solid, the fewer problems you're going to have. Finally, I would say that in classroom management, and it's funny how this bleeds into just how you present. I find great joy in taking very complex things and making them simple. I like to say that I'm a candy maker. I take this very complex topic in archaeology and I boil it down into a little piece of candy. Here you go, little piece of candy to have. And you go, num 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 num. That's sweet. And you understand it. And since I've done that for you, you want to be active in the moment. You want another piece of candy. Because I wrap it up in a joke, you know? And that's me. Now, that's my way of classroom management. Keeping it lighthearted. It's almost, I'm secretly teaching you through jokes, you know? It's like smart facts and philosophy disguised as a joke, you know? That's my honesty and what works for me. So I hope this kind of helps. You just want to be yourself. I know it's so cliche. I tend to not start on the downbeat of if it's like class starts at 10, I'll walk in a minute or two late, and then I'll start with the like, hey, how was your day? It relaxes you in. And yes, you lose 6 minutes of teaching time, but the remaining hour and 9 minutes are so much better because I'm using that first bit to engage the audience for a ride that's going to be another hour. There you go.